say that in time of famine, an evil spirit comes out of the woods to possess those who had cannibalized the flesh of their peers.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 thriller Cold Meat. The film is co-written and directed by Sebastian Drouin, and it stars Alan Leach and Nina Bergman. Now the film follows Alan Leach's character David. We meet him at the beginning. He is eating at a diner. He ends up protecting Nina Bergman's character Anna from her violent ex, and there's a really terrible snowstorm outside. He sets off. He's kind of driven off the road in the middle of a blizzard by this violent ex who really didn't like him getting involved. And he then ends up getting trapped in this blizzard. There's no way for him to go. The blizzard is only getting worse. It's too dangerous for him to go outside for any length of time because it's so cold. And then there's a huge reveal takes place that he's got Anna in the boot of his car. The rest of the film then becomes a fight for survival, as David isn't who he exactly portrays to be, and Anna will do everything in her power to survive, not only what's inside the car, but she has to survive what's outside it as well. Right, what are my thoughts on Cold Meat? I've had this one on my watch list for a couple of weeks now, and I kind of held off watching it for one reason or another. It didn't look particularly original, or it kind of felt like I'd seen this kind of thing before a few times. But I got round to watching it eventually. I have to say, this quite impressed me. This film, it's nothing remarkable, but it's got solid performances and a solid premise, and it even plays around with some horror elements in the film as well, and it does it quite effectively. Now, I don't obviously want to spoil the dynamics of what's going on in this car between David and Anna, but needless to say that they are both in a similar position in that they both need to survive this blizzard. David has a severe injury when he tried to kind of get out and escape, if you like, from away from the blizzard. So he's got a really tragic injury. And you've got these two people in this car stuck with each other, with one of them having really quite, evil intentions, I suppose you could describe it that way. So you've got this whole dynamic going throughout the film. Now, I quite like films where sometimes they kind of massively reduce the cast list, and you've only really got, for the most part, two actors primarily throughout this film. You do get some flashback scenes that I'm not usually a fan of, but I do think they actually add to this film. So I didn't have a problem with them here. So you better kind of hope that if you've got two actors kind of on screen for the majority of this film, you've got a decent premise, and B, you've got some decent writing going on, and they actually do have both here in this film. You've got two interesting and layered characters and two impressive performances for different reasons. Now, Alan Leach, he is, you may recognise him. He was in Downton Abbey. Was it Tom he played in Downton Abbey? So it was good to see him in this film, kind of playing around with a different character. And I enjoyed his and Nina Bergman's performance here. But also, as well, the whole idea of like this fight against the elements can really work to a film's advantage, and they're in a position where they're in a car that's slowly dying, if you like, and the only thing that's kind of keeping them alive is they're turning the engine on every now and again to kind of warm the car up and praying that the car doesn't break down. They've no food, they've no drink, anything like that. They've just got to kind of hope that the blizzard passes in a chance that they can survive this. But one of them has got not just the blizzard to worry about. And again, I'm being careful not to give spoilers away. Now, the horror aspects of the film is like on two fronts. What you've got here is obviously the elements. Obviously, there's the dynamic in the car that kind of plays around with the horror elements quite a lot. But there's also, as well, there's something outside the vehicle. Now, initially, when I kind of read that in the synopsis, I thought, oh, it's going to be like a pack of wolves or something like that. That'd be quite interesting. And that's what it didn't put me off initially, but I kind of thinking, oh, it's going to be like a wolf or a bear or something, and we've seen that kind of stuff before. But in actual fact, it isn't. It's something else. The film never really makes it clear what it is, but it's certainly not what you would describe as a creature of nature, I suppose. It's something a little bit more supernatural, maybe. And again, it doesn't fully explain it, but it's one of those films where, to be fair, it doesn't really have to explain it either. It does a pretty good job of kind of letting you make your own mind up about what this thing is outside that's stalking them as well. So you've got all these huge dynamics going on, fight for survival, blizzard, no food, no water, two people in a car, both fighting for survival, but one for two reasons rather than just the blizzard outside. And then you've got some bloody creature stalking them outside the car. There's a lot going on in this film, and it does actually manage to kind of hold it all together and keep you interested throughout this film. I was quietly impressed with it as well. It's shot quite beautifully, if you like snow, I suppose, but I do think there's some pretty impressive cinematography going on here as well, and it does feel very atmospheric when it needs to, and you can absolutely feel the fear and the cold that these characters are going through. I think the makeup effects are quite good because they do genuinely look absolutely bloody freezing. They probably were. I'm not so sure. Either way, I do think this is actually worth checking out. It's a pretty nice, tidy thriller with some supernatural stroke horror elements thrown in for good measure near the end. So if the premise sounds interesting to you, then I would suggest checking this one out. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.